Here with John Jackson taking a look back at the USC versus Stanford game. JJ, a dramatic game, obviously. One that the Trojans went up there and took from the Stanford Cardinal. What's your biggest takeaway right now when you look back at that?
Well, for me, it's really about this Trojan team and how they played, and they were able to come up with a victory. So many times in USC's past, even going back to when I was playing, the games we won was when we outplayed the other team. Saturday was a situation where statistically, definitely, Stanford outplayed USC, but the Trojans found a way to win. That was the most impressive thing to me, is they took a bunch of young guys and they found a way to get a victory, even though it wasn't their best day.
You look at those numbers that Stanford had on the defensive side of the ball for SC. Stanford outpassed USC by 150 yards. They had 9 trips inside the USC 30-yard line, only come away with 10 points. There was so much attention paid to Leonard Williams and the game that he had, deservedly so, 11 tackles. But you're paying attention to the secondary, particularly the corners right now, and how well they're playing.
Well, the front 7 of the USC defense was supposed to be the strength coming into the season. And to be quite honest with you, without Josh Shaw, there was a major concern with the secondary and how they would play. But look at those guys and how they've stepped up. I mean, you're talking about Chris Hawkins, who's just a redshirt freshman coming in, Adoree Jackson, who is a true freshman, and of course, Kevon Seymour, who only has 1 year as a starter at that cornerback spot. Those guys are playing phenomenal. And although the Trojans have been trying to make sure they get some help for those guys, when they've been matched up in one-on-one situations, they have been able to stop some pretty good receivers, and Ty Montgomery was minimized on Saturday, and I think that was one of the keys of the game.
And specifically, Montgomery, Adoree was on him quite a bit. Good job by the true freshman.
Yeah, you have to love when Adoree's able to match up with him, one-on-one. And I know that going into the game, that might not have been the game plan. But by the end of the game, and especially on the big sack by J.R. Tavai, there was Adoree Jackson matched up with Ty Montgomery. That's a good sign for the young freshman to be able to line up against one of the best playmakers in the conference and really keep him in check.
Didn't back down at all from that moment. Let's flip it over to the USC offense. Boy, the one constant in this game, and has been through the first 2 games of the season, is Buck Allen.
Yeah.
He was really bringing it in this game. Talk about his performance.
Well, Buck continues to get better, and although last year was a banner year for him and anybody didn't think he could get any better, he actually has gotten probably even a step or 2 faster and is just as equally as powerful. Several plays on Saturday, Buck there was times where there were maybe 1, 2, 3 Stanford defenders unblocked. He either ran around them, made a move in the open field, but he was very effective, as we have seen Buck Allen do in the past. The fact that he was able to carry the ball so many times, be in that hurry-up offense, you just have to love it. When he ripped off that 50-yarder, I said, oh, wow, he's back and he's better than ever.
That was good to see. And let's talk about what he had down on the offensive line. You mentioned Adoree Jackson as a freshman. There was 3 true freshmen rotating in amongst that USC offensive line.
Well, that's a big surprise for me coming in. Usually the offensive line is one of the hardest positions to learn, and also one of the hardest positions to make the transition from high school into college. But, the 3 freshmen that the Trojans have, you have Mama, Lobendon, and also Talamavao, all those guys that are true freshmen getting an opportunity to play key roles, and they play about a balanced number of snaps because they rotate in together. So those guys are real key components to the success of this USC offense. And we talk about Buck Allen not losing a step. Well, it's that offensive line giving him the opportunities.
Okay, a dramatic win, but now the team has to move forward. Boston College this week. Where do you see the mindset as they move forward?
Well, it's funny because after the game, I interviewed Sark and I said, hey, look, you're standing in front of an elevator and they just hit the button and there's somebody getting ready to get in, and it's expectation and it's on its way up, right? So the expectations for this team have gone way up now. I mean, now I think that from man to man, if those that didn't believe before that they had a chance to win the Pac-12 South and go on and do great things this season, I think now they believe. I mean, they've beaten Stanford, of course, has been the king of the hill for the last couple of years, and so the fact that they have that's a huge momentum builder for the Trojans. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself because there's some tough teams in between. You don't want to have that classic slip up against a team that you should beat, but right now you can sort of see it, it's definitely right in front of them, that Pac-12 South championship, and I know that it's a little early to talk about it, but they can see it.
That's our report here from the USC campus. For John Jackson, this is Garry Paskwietz, ESPN.